Hey Vincent, so you said that your impression is that I lack an external focal point, and that basically, as a result of that, anything that I say, other people can only believe it or not believe it, because there's no internal focal point that we can all agree upon, so you say. And I guess, yeah, I mean, to be a philosopher, you're concerned with more than just some external point of focus. You're concerned with an internal point of focus. Because yes, you do want to know the truth, and the truth is a discovery of something external to yourself. But in another sense, there's an inner truth, and when you take the inner truth into consideration, it no longer seems as though you have to find it outside of yourself. It seems that external truths are simultaneously memories of truths which we're just recalling within ourselves. So, there's always going to be a spiritual component or aspect to knowing, to knowledge, even if it's knowledge of the external world. So, you say that nothing I say can offer anyone something that can be predicted. And I agree, I'm not offering empirical predictions. I'm not pretending to do science. And see, this is why I say yes, I practice the scientific method at times when I'm in need of answers to certain kinds of questions. But I'm not a proponent of scientism, because I don't think that science can answer every question. I don't think I have to make a falsifiable statement all the time when I'm talking about existential issues rather than empirical issues. It's not to say that there's not often a relationship between existential and empirical issues. I mean, the discovery of the heliocentric model of the universe, of the expanding universe, the discovery of evolution, these are empirical discoveries that have existential ramifications. The experience of being human changes as a result of something we've observed. And so that's why I take science very seriously. Science is about discovering a truth which had been in some way external to us. But when it discovers that truth, it then comes to know it. And it's that knowing which is subjective. It's a remembrance of something we already knew. And as a philosopher, I'm in search of newness, of novelty, of the ideal possibilities, because that's the direction that leads to eternity, which, I agree with you. We had a little discussion in Stickham that trying to conceive of eternity is confusing and difficult. Actually it's impossible. You can't do it. You can conceptualize this word, and you can give it certain relationships to other words, such that you think you're saying something meaningful. I myself am attempting to do this right now, and did so in my video about human suffering. So yeah, eternity, if you try to think it, will confuse you. But that doesn't mean the word has no meaning. It doesn't mean we can't use it meaningfully. And I think when I say that I don't need to prove eternity to you, if you know what I mean when I use that word, then you'd agree. It's not something you don't already that you're not already permeated by. You're swimming in it. You are it. We can talk about this in relativistic physical terms. Space-time, that's all there is, right? You, as a material body, are of space-time. You're not in it. You are of it. Matter is a fold in space-time. What light is, we can't really say with relativistic physics. As far as relativistic physics are concerned, light is transcendental. It knows neither space nor time. It is everywhere at once. So I don't have an external focal point, because to know any external focal point, we'd have to have learned how to use our own eyes. Science is based upon, it's built upon our ability to see, to know. And knowledge, knowing, the activity of knowing, of understanding, of judging, of perceiving, these are internal acts. They can't be seen. They can't be measured. We can measure chemical. We can measure the presence of glucose in various clusters of neurons, but we can't measure the activity of being an awake, living human being, thinking, trying to cope with some sort of symbolic meaning in their environment. That's something you can only experience from the inside out. And I think as a philosopher, I am obsessed with that. It's the weirdest thing you could imagine, if you can even imagine it. And the philosopher continues to try to understand what is impossible to understand, because ultimately, philosophy is a love of wisdom, and it's the love that keeps me going, that keeps my mind chasing its own tail. But see, it's a propeller action that this chasing creates, and so there's a movement somewhere, I would hope. It feels that way because it feels as though a growth occurs in one's thoughts. Of course, I can't prove that to anybody else. You'd have to judge for yourself. And all I'm saying is that to judge, you must be able to focus inwardly. That's what determines whether or not your judgment is valid or not. I can't decide whether it's valid or not for you. You'll have to do that for yourself, just as I have to do it for myself, for my own judgments. This leaves the question open as to whether or not there is some sort of measure of validness outside of our own judgment. I'm not going to pronounce one way or the other about that. I'm just saying that even for just science to be possible, there must be something called the human rational egoic subject, that which can know this and understand all of these theories based on objective, empirically measured data. For that to be possible, we need to be capable of highly abstract and complex intellectual thought, and that if that is an inward focusing, I don't know what would be.